Hello everybody and welcome to my channel. So I decided to give you guys a little input on my 4th grade year of elementary school. So because my next video is going to be about a current event, I think this might help you kind of understand where my hatred for this person comes from. So I decided to kind of share my 4th grade year. So when I was in 4th grade, I had this really close friend named Jazzy. Me and her were sitting on the swings once, and Jazzy saw this girl underneath this little playground thing, and she decided to go and say hi to her. And I'm like, Jazzy, don't do that. I didn't want to meet new people. Like, your girl's a bitch, but but she decided to go say hi to her. So I went to go say hi, and well, I sat there half the time. But when I was sitting there and we were talking, they became friends. She was never one of our best friends in that year, but important information. So then Ariel, and I had this other friend named Ariel. So me and Ariel and Jazzy were really close, hip to hip. And then, so it was the beginning of the year, like I mentioned. So that means that it was presidential election time. It says also finally in 4th grade, I could finally run for president. Let's just say I regret that decision. But I met this dude named Eli, and he's a big part of the story, so it would make no sense if I didn't mention it. So, mention him. So, Eli and I were like the bestest of rivals. I say bestest of rivals because we were nice to each other, but we were still rivals. But I had gotten a cold a week before, we were supposed to do our speeches. And I was freaking out, and he was going to give me water. Every single day, he would try to make sure I'm okay. To this day, I still think he put laxatives in it. But, I was in 4th grade. He probably didn't. But, so besides that, my crazy experience with him. So I was with them and Ariel and Jazzy once, and we were talking. And he kind of I don't know what you can use for it. So he kind of was just sitting there minding his own business, and he asked me who my crush was. I'm like, I have a crush on this guy named Skylar. Heads up, my sister knew about him once kicked him in the balls. Anyway, so yeah, I was just sitting on the bench, and I was like, Skylar, and Ariel's like, oh my god, you guys should start dating, and super supportive. God, I wish I didn't do that. But then a few weeks later, time went by and everything was going normally. But this Ariel girlie decides that's a brilliant idea to run onto the football field with Jazzy in her cheerleading uniform while they're playing football, and she screamed on the top of her freaking lungs, Sophia has a crush on Skylar. Yeah, maybe I want to tell everybody that. But I didn't find out about this. This is what Eli told me. So I was just sitting on we have these benches that when you were lonely, you would sit on them. So I was sitting on one of those benches. And he runs up to me and he's like, oh my god, Sophia, don't freak out. I'm like, nice saying don't freak out. I'm tempted to freak out. He's like, don't freak out. I'm like, okay. So he told me, Ariel just screamed who your crush was to the entire football field. She did what now? So I just stood up and I started crying because I thought she was told my crush. And Ariel and Jazzy, he come running over oh my god, Sophia, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, I didn't think about it. And I'm like, what? And now I think about it, how do they know to run over right when Eli ran over? There's something I'm not knowing. I'll ask them about it. But besides that tiny little detail. So she told me, I started crying hysterically. I'm like, just shut up, leave me alone. And I just ran away. And I didn't talk to her for 2 weeks. And they got friendship bracelets and everything. They completely cut me out of their circle, and she made Jazzy ignore me. It was horrible. But then we made it up, and yeah, this is where the war began. So my friend Ariel had these rivals. But there was these two girls that I was like best friends with who happened to be her rivals. Lola and Diana. Lola was a very popular kid in middle school, but now she isn't. So I kind of find it funny that I was friends with a popular girl in school, and I didn't even know it. Anyway, so I was on the bus with her once, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to hang out with us at recess?" And I'm like, "Yes, of course, girly, of course, I'd love to." Bad decision. Because that started what I call the time period. This time period went on for 5 months. Half a year. It was called the tug-of-war period. Funny, it actually fits with this name. So there was this rivalry between me and my group of friends and me and my other group of friends. And they really did not like each other. Like, at all. So, like, I'm like, oh my god, you guys need to calm down, it'll be fine. But I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to, like, hang out with, Lola and Diana today. And they're like, Lola? And I'm like, yeah. And so they started running with me and hid me behind this, like, trash can thing. It was like, don't move. So we all were hiding there, and then they found me, and they drive me away and hid me. And that started every single recess period. I was dealing with them dragging me around like I was some sort of, like, object to just pull around with. They would be, like, playing cheerleading, like, having me in a stunt. And then they would realize, oh my god, wait, there's Lola. And they would run. Bolt, and I mean bolt, to get to the other side away from them. So that just pretty much gives it on. So there's this one girl named Brooklyn. This is the one hiding place I vividly remember, is that they hid me behind a hill. Like, where in the hell do you think that's gonna work? What universe? But we were like, sitting behind a hill. And they obviously found us. But this is why I vividly remember this hiding spot. These kids knocked me over to a puddle of mud. And then they, like, ran off. And Lola was like, oh my god, are you okay? But a month went by. And, like, this was, like, a 5-month thing. So there was, like, every single day this happened. Like, I would hang out with them for, like, 5 minutes. And then they realized, oh my god, there they are. Like, we could have been hanging out on that timeline. God, could we just all hang out together? But then I was just, mind my own business. But I had no idea what was going on between those two. The feud. I had no idea why that was there. Or why we were running around in the first place. But what ended the rivalry was this little event, like we like to call the girls versus boys run. Yes, it is exactly how it sounds. The boys said that girls were weak, so we lined up in a row and chose our, like, teams, and we're like, you know what? You're part of my team now. So all the girls were in, like, a team, like, all the girls that wanted to be involved with it, which wasn't that many, by the way. There's only, like, 18 of us. And then there's, like, 20 boys. But that's an unfair advantage. But, like, so we, like, lined up on the thing, and we were started running for our lives. And this boy was sitting on the ground tying his shoe, and he tripped me. This bitch, I saw his leg tucked in, and he instantly put it out when I came close, and it just went falling. So I ended up falling over. But when I fell over, I hurt my foot, and then I was running again. But when I started running again, I noticed that Jasmine was a little bit, like, breathless. And I was like, okay, you know what, she's not one of my close friends, it's probably fine. And so the event ended, and of course, we won. Because we had Lola on our team, and she was a freaking athlete. But, so we were like, besties. And it was kind of, like, very fun. That race was, like, a huge pointer to my friendship in the future, because of the fact that later that time, Like, later that recess, I saw Jasmine sitting on the ground, and I was like, oh my God, are you okay? She's like, wasn't responding. Like, what? It turns out she was having a seizure. So we ran over and got a teacher, and like, it was this whole chaos, and it turns out that she was like on the verge of having a seizure. And I was like, just ignoring it, like it was nothing. And then I kind of feel bad now. But like, but then I helped her out, and that's what kind of started our friendship. And then there's this girl that always gave me flowers made out of dandelions. I don't know. Just I mentioned it. And yeah, so then at the end of 4th grade year, they kicked me off their little cheerleading squad, which was literally not even an official cheerleading squad. It was just a cheerleading squad for the football player crushes we had. They kicked me off it. Ariel did. Me and Jazzy stopped talking to Ariel. Me, Jazzy, and Jasmine became a friend group. Lola and Diana and Ariel became besties with Brooklyn. And Brooklyn burped like a man. But like, they started like running, like they were like always ignore us. So the last week of school, me and Jazzy had only each other. It was horrible. But Jasmine was always sticking by our side and was going on the swings with us. Like, it was awesome. And then the year ended, and they had like a little group, and we weren't invited. But yeah, it was so sad for me at the time. Now I don't really care. But yeah, so there's this one other crush I had named Nolan, and I always trampled him. Anywho, that is the end of this story. I hope it wasn't too boring. So yeah, feel free to comment and ask me any questions, because I have a lot more stories in my bag. I was actually, if you noticed, I would like stop and do that. It's because I would notice, like, wait, this happened like a year later. So yeah, if you want me to tell you about my Halloween trick-or-treating incident, I'll tell you about it. I'm not gonna do it anyway, though. Anyway, love y'all. Bye.